Hi, this is a quick walkthrough setting up a Suunto Helo2 for mixed gas diving. And if, like me, you've been struggling with the user guide and not really getting very far, then hopefully this should give you a quick introduction to how to easily set it up and then use it while you're under the water. So first of all, let's assume you're going to be diving with a buddy and you're going to be diving the configuration you can see in this video of a twin set and two separate stages. In addition to that, this video will show you how to set up an additional deco drop bottle, but that's not essential. Effectively, you've got a total of 7 gases available to you. You've got the gas, your back gas, you've got your 2 different strengths of deco gas, you've got your buddy's back gas and 2 strengths of deco gas there, and you've got the drop tank as well, all of which potentially could be used during the course of the dive. So in normal circumstances, during the course of a standard tech dive, you should only be using the back gas and your 2 different strengths of deco gas. Of course, if you have a problem with any of those, by having every other gas you've got available to you programmed into the computer, it means that whatever eventuality you've got, the Helo2 can calculate your ascent time and give you an accurate deco profile without having to revert to tables. It is of course the case that you can just program in 3 gases and stick with what you've got, but at least this way you're planning for all eventualities. We're also going to assume that you know what you're doing in relation to dive planning. Obviously all tech diving really needs to be done in a controlled environment, and you will have a dive plan with gases planned, whether you use something like vPlanner here or whether you use something like Suunto's Dive Manager software and produce your plan with your gases accordingly. What this video is about really is just how to program those gases into your Helo2 before you do the dive. So let's take a look at the Helo2 itself, and we can run through how you actually get these things configured. The Helo2 can accommodate up to 8 different gas mixes. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to configure 7 of them. So first of all, you're going to be using the mode button over here, and it needs to be in dive mixed gas mode. As that fires up, does the battery check, gets us into the standard dive mode. What we can see here is the standard configuration that would happen pretty well as you jump into the water. To get into setup mode, we press the bottom left hand button here, or the down button, press and hold that, and that puts us into the settings mode. And as you can see, the first option here is gases. You can use the right and left keys as per the standard Suunto process using the menus. Once you've got the setting that you want, in this case we want the gases, you can press select and it takes you into the settings. One thing to note here, it's telling us which mix number we're setting up at the moment, and in this case it's telling us it's a primary mix. Mix 1 on the Helo2 can only be primary, assuming that you've only got a minimum of 1 gas. It's unlikely you're going to be diving without any gas at all, so mix 1 is always a primary. Pressing select takes us then, you can see the 18 flashing here, takes us into the setup mode. What you'll find is if it's set up as a standard air computer, you'll have a number on the left and a 0 on the right. And this is what that would look like with 33% nitrox. In this case, this has been preset for a Trimix. You can use the up and down arrows to set the percentages that you want. Select will move you on to the next item. In this case, it's showing a 20-30 Trimix, which you can input, as you've seen, to whatever strength you need. If you're happy with that particular setting, noting here that the O2 in this mix will dictate the maximum depth, we move on, and that's based on the PPO2 level that you've set, which normally for back gas you would set at 1.4. Again, pressing the select button moves us on to 1.4. We can increase, and you'll see the MOD going up or we can decrease that to the levels that we want to use. I will usually stick this to 1.4 for most of the diving that I do. Pressing select again takes us up to the mix, and at this stage we can move on with the up key to mix 2. Again, you'll notice that mix 2 is showing as a primary mix. That's quite important because if, as I mentioned earlier, you've got a number of different gases, say you want to put in your buddy's gas and a drop tank as well, you would set those gases to secondary, which means that the computer will only calculate your ascent time based on the primary gases that are programmed into it. That's quite important, as you'll see later on when we talk about what you do when you're gas changing, that when you're in a dive and you're on your ascent, it will always alert you if there's a better mix available, and it will only give you an alert against those gases which are set as primary. Pressing select moves us into the actual menu. As you can see, we can set this as a secondary gas or as a primary gas. As I'm now doing my leanest deco cylinder, I'll want it as a primary gas so the computer knows it's available to me during the dive, and I want to set my O2 and helium mixes accordingly. In this case you can see it's a 33% O2, 0% helium, so this is effectively 33% nitrox in the deco cylinder. Again, select will move me on. I don't want to put any helium in this particular mix, and as I said earlier, we've got a 1.6 ppO2, which you can see here, which is dictating the MOD for that gas. That is pretty useful because what will happen is, as you're ascending from your deep dive, as soon as you reach the MOD level, the maximum operating depth for your gas, whatever your percentage is, it will then start to make this available to you or alert you that this is available for the depth you're at. So as soon as you ascend above 37.1 meters, the computer will start to flash that you've got an available gas which is a better gas. The important thing to remember is your ascent time on the computer will be calculated assuming you switch gases at the optimum time. So it is important to leave these as primary gases. That way it will give you your fastest ascent time. So if we move this on, if you want to change ppO2, again you can use the buttons. Maximum allowed 1.6. Again, moving on and go to mix 3. Again, I have mine as a primary. We'll go back past that, and you'd normally have a reasonably rich gas. So you can see I'm moving with the up button here, moving this up to, and as I move it up you can see it's bringing the MOD, the maximum operating depth, down. If I set this to 70% as a good deco mix, it tells me I can use that from 12.5 meters or shallower, assuming that I don't want to be breathing more than a partial pressure of 1.6 on the O2. Now if I go from mix 3 into mix 4, this is where we start to put in our buddy's gas. In my case, what I do is I use mix 4 will be my buddy's back gas. So if we move this again, we'll go back in, you can switch to mix 4 and you'll see this is set as a secondary mix, and this is the back gas that my buddy, whatever that is set for. If we have a look at mix 5, that's my buddy's lean deco gas. Mix 6 is my buddy's rich deco gas, and again using the ppO2s and everything else for this, it will tell me what the MOD is. Importantly with these, they are set as secondaries, so the computer will never assume that these are available to you, but if in an emergency, if you have say a stage failure or something, you can switch to any of these mixes. And the last one, mix 7, again a secondary, in this case it's an 80%, and that reflects what was in the drop bottle on the dive you saw earlier. With all of that set, it means I can now, during my dive, I can move to any gas that's available to me on that dive, and automatically the Hel02 will calculate my ascent time and my decompression plan based on the gases that I'm using. As the Hel02 can accommodate up to 8 different mixes, mix number 8 in this case we're going to set it off, that removes it as an option for selection during the dive. Pressing mode again gets us back to the setup menu, and once more takes us back into the dive mode. So that's set the Hel02 up with all the available gases for us in the dive. It's told it which are our primary gases, the ones that I'm actually carrying in the dive, and that way it will calculate ascent time based on that. And equally, as we said, once you're on your ascent and it then reaches a point, to a shallower point in the dive where those primary gases become usable, it will tell you straight away by flashing the gas down on the bottom left to tell you you've got a better mix given where the stage of the dive you're in. Now once that starts to flash, what you can do is you can press and hold this bottom right hand button and you'll see the screen will change and tell you in big letters mix 1. Now what you can do at this point is use the left and right buttons, the up and down buttons, to select an appropriate mix. In this case you can see mix 2 has been is highlighted, and it tells you down in the bottom left hand side what the mix is of that particular, what the gas mix is of that particular cylinder. If for example at that stage, again we'll reactivate that, so if you leave it for too long it will automatically switch away back to the dive mode. In this case we decide mix 2 is the one we want. You simply press select and it says mix 2 selected, and now you can see bottom left of the screen it tells you which mix we're actually currently using. So you can see in this example here, whilst we're underwater doing some decompression, on the bottom left hand side this is showing that I'm currently breathing 64%, or at least the computer's currently set for a 64% decompression mix. And similarly, if you move into the next phase of the dive and you've completed your deeper decompression, you move up to your shallower phase, and again once you're into the usable range of the gas that you've got, which is your rich gas, again it would flash up down the bottom left you've got a better gas mix available, and again pressing this button and holding it allows you to move to the correct mix. You can say this is the richer deco mix, and again select will select that mix, and during the course of the dive it will show you what your decompression time left is. So in this case you can see we've got 25 minutes more decompression time left, and we're doing this decompression at the moment on 31% nitrox. So all that remains is to actually go diving. Hopefully this has been useful. Give me some feedback, some comments, always welcome. Subscribe to the channel. There'll be another video posted on my channel of how to actually use the Suunto Helo2 whilst you're underwater doing gas switching and showing some of the features of the computer as you use it. So till next time, safe diving.